All right, the What Happened Music podcast. We're going to talk about playing for musicals since it is almost musical season.
Pretty much, yeah. This is kind of the time of year most high schools are doing their musical productions and things like that.
So I've only done a couple. John has done way more, and he's booked for more.
Well, I
this
haven't
year.
done. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I've only been really recently playing musicals, maybe the last 2.5 years, but consistently.
Okay,
So,
but you're
it
booked
is
for more. Anyway, so where do you think we should start with this topic?
well, from a sax player standpoint, I mean, there's probably not a lot that sax players would need to know because for the most part,
Well, you need to know that you will be expected to double.
well, actually, and I was going to talk about that too with guitar. But,
One reason why I wish I spent more time in college working on my woodwind doubling and not going to education courses that I have yet to use ever. But that could be another topic.
that is another one.
So if you're like me, you're a little bit weaker on the doubles. So before you do agree to the book, you need to know which book you're going to do.
Well, that's true.
Because it'll just say read 1, read 2. So every read book has different instruments. Like I believe read 4, read 5 is like bari, sax, bassoon. Whereas like the earlier reads will be flute.
I have to
clarinet,
imagine most of
flute,
those
clarinet,
bassoon.
sax.
That's got to be bassoon cues, right?
Yeah.
Or at least it has to be done. At least with, I would think. Cues.
But ideally, that's what it would be. So you need to double. So like me going in, I'll say, what musical is it? What instruments would it be? And I'm gonna go ahead and listen to it first before I agree. Make sure I can do it. But if you're a strong doubler, that's no problem.
Although the one thing with musicals is they're not necessarily all cookie cutter with the books,
Right.
so that's an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, strong doubler if you're
If you're a saxophone player,
Saxophone
because
player.
that's the only instrument that you have to double. That could be another topic.
yeah.
Yeah, that could be a whole nother topic. But anyway, from a guitar standpoint, what do you look for? Because I imagine you get completely different types of books.
Well, I mean, one of the issues, first thing you have to do, and always make sure of, is that it only calls for one guitar, or if it calls for 2 or 3 guitars, if it's the wedding singer,
Okay.
apparently calls for 3 guitars, that they have
3 different guys.
the number of guitars.
I could see that being an oversight.
George had an issue where he played the wedding singer, and then they're like, "Oh, here's the 3 books." So all of a sudden, and this is one of those things where if this were like a union gig, you'd go, "Well, I'm not responsible for figuring out what out of these 3 books what parts you need."
Right.
And if they don't want to hire the people, then you kind of need to hire the people.
Yeah.
I really enjoy playing musicals. It's kind of nice to have kind of a home for a week. It's not a one-off gig. The pay's I think reasonable. If I'm getting 75 to 100 a night,
Yeah.
that's not bad because I only have to learn one book. It's not like I'm going into a situation where I'm trying to figure out one book for one night. It's like
Right.
okay, it just becomes really easy. Really easy. You get to work with good musicians. As a guitarist, you need to be able to read.
Which I'm sure is a very clear cut.
It's and I mean you need to be able to read well. Most of the gigs I feel I end up getting are situations where the books are either harder than they realize, and either the whoever plays usually get like the jazz guitarists in high school playing them.
Yeah.
The musicals. I feel like I get called a lot of times in situations where they go, "Oh, the kid who said he played guitar couldn't handle a book." The books are not particularly easy, and there's so many different styles, and that's really where I feel I do well. Even if you take something, I'm doing the Addams Family in a week, which is it's a nice musical, it's a fun musical for the kids. But you're expected to be able to be able to read and comp jazz chord changes. You're expected to be able to play nylon, flamenco, classical guitar, which right there are totally at the ends of the spectrum. You're expected to be able to play heavy metal rock guitar
Yeah.
with like pinch harmonics and stuff like that. So if you think about being able to comp in a jazz style, being able to play nylon guitar, being able to sort of do the shred rock stuff, you have to be pretty versatile.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with doubling, you always see mandolin's really popular. Banjo, although you can usually get away with not playing banjo. Steel string, nylon guitars, ukulele. Actually, there's a big ukulele solo in the Addams Family.
So, as a guitar player, is there, since with woodwinds, there's only so many possibilities of what you could play, do you feel like if I'm a young go-getter guitar player and I want to do musicals, what instrument should I own?
That's a good question. You could probably get away with a Fender Stratocaster as your sort of your rock rig. And then probably would be good to have a nylon string guitar and then and a steel string acoustic. I feel if you have those three things, that would be good. A volume pedal is always really convenient because as you're playing and reading and you're adjusting yourself with the band or the orchestra, it's nice to be able to just let off the pedal. It's a difficult situation. It is. What's nice is because the pool of people that can handle the books in terms of the reading, and sometimes, I've never sight read a musical, but I've gotten the book day before the first rehearsal. That's not easy.
I think there's something to be said too for musicians who kind of make playing shows and musicals their bread and butter. They'll tend to be some very fine sight readers.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, and my sight reading is not great.
And sometimes they'll be fantastic musicians, sometimes they'll be okay, but like that sight reading is just like I should point. That's your number one skill you need.
I should point out when I say my sight reading is not great, I mean my sight reading is not great when compared to a saxophone player.
Yeah.
I mean it's solid for a guitar player, but again, it's the expectations.
Right.
The nice thing is once you kind of get into the musical circuit, you start seeing a lot of the same people.
Right.
So you kind of build a community that way. You get called back for some of the same gigs. You end up playing Grease 50 times, so that's like just money in the bank.
Yeah, you keep doing the same shows.
The same shows. That's actually doing the Man of La Mancha one. That was one reason I wanted to do that, because typically you don't see that with high schools.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to do Man of La Mancha.
Okay.
So when I had the opportunity to do that at Broadway Theater at Pittman, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that, because I'll probably never get another shot to really do a good production of Man of La Mancha. So if you play musicals, let us know your thoughts.
What you're doing.
Yeah, maybe what you either, your high school, your college is doing, or what you've done. Also, I really wish there was a list, and this would be so difficult to get, but a comprehensive list of like a grading system on musical books.
Oh, like difficulty,
because I'm always worried about taking on something.
Yeah, that would be nicer. And then
Legally Blonde, surprisingly really difficult book, at least for guitar.
Like, oh my god.
Oh my god, you guys. I actually like that musical. First couple of tracks, I was like, I can't believe I'm going to be playing this. This is awful. But it gets a lot better after that opening number. But no, I wish there was a rating system for. Oh well, this is like a Guitar 3 book. Like
so
3 out of 10.
More like school band and orchestra.
Exactly,
music,
like a school band and orchestra rating for like, am I going to be able to go in and sight read this book because it's nothing but really simple chord changes? Or am I going to have to like just have like major solo parts?
It would also help the person organizing the group, where it's like, well, the guitar player's book is really difficult. I might want to hire somebody, because at my high school we stuck with all student. It was an all student band, so we didn't bring people in. So when I got into college and heard of like students at college getting hired to go to high schools, I was like, whoa, that's a really foreign concept to me. But you get professionals, they'll get hired for middle school, high school productions. Yeah. And then having a grading system like that would be like, well, I want as much student involvement as possible, but like this book, I need somebody professional on it.
Yeah.
So your thoughts on that, or musicals in general?
Let
us know.
Yeah, let us know. I would really like to get a nice list of musicals you've played and like a rolling difficulty level for your instrument.